Good evening, folks. Welcome back to another Monday night live stream. Hope you're all well. Hope you had a fantastic weekend. I hope your Monday has started off the week spiffingly. Apologies for being like a minute or two late there. I was just looking at my phone, completely forgot what time it was. Glanced across and it said like 1 minute past 9. It was like, oh yeah, I'm meant to be doing something else now, aren't I? So hello, how is everybody? How are you doing? Nice to see you all in the chat tonight. Always nice to see you early birds who come in right from the beginning, so thank you very much for joining us. If this is your first time here, if you're just joining the chat now, say hello, give me a little wave, let me know who the new folks are. And of course, if you're an old hand, if you come here every week, it's always good to see you too. So let's see who we've got in the chat. Deep Red was in nice and early there as well, saying hail and well met. I'll be painting orcs whilst you're on Old Sun, but I'll be paying attention, I promise. Good, mate. Good. Glad to hear it. Ed, hello to you, mate, as well. I know you're saying that you've got something else on tonight, but you'll be doing watching this in the catch-up. So, hello, Ed. How you doing? And we got Super Pumpkin Man in as well. Hello. Chris Hills in as well, saying, I made it in time. Nice to see you, sir. We got Coffee and Pistachios. Good evening to you both. Scott Latham, good evening, mate. How you doing? Hope you're well. Haxan666, nice to see you too. Christian Reeves, hello, sir. How the devil are you? We got Ryan Barry, hello there, buddy. Super Pumpkin Man saying, be kind and do not forget to drop a like. And whenever there's always somebody says something along the lines, and it always reminds me of the old Blockbuster be kind and rewind thing. I don't know why. There you go, just showing my age there a little bit. Clyde Dashin, good evening, mate. Good afternoon. He's saying I hope you're all well. Hope you're well too, fella. Zingbo, good evening as well. Colin Mack, good evening to you. RG says, evening all. Andy, you have my full attention this week. No family multitasking, pure hobby only. Well, RG, that's good to hear me. So we can just chat. Everybody else can join in, but me and you. Luke says, sweet mother of mercy, I've actually caught a live stream, and wouldn't you know it will likely cost me money, as a 3D printer has been on my wish list for a long time. So, first of all, hello, Luke. Second of all, yes, the main topic of chat tonight is we're talking a little bit about 3D printing, and specifically FDM printing, and why it's probably been my best ever hobby purchase. I have no regrets, even though I was very much against them initially, and I always wanted a resin printer. I wasn't that fussed about FDM. My opinions have completely 180'd. We'll be chatting about that tonight. Tasty Brain Drain, good evening to you, buddy. We got Devon, hello to you as well. Kent Triu, good evening to you. We got Wayne Haywood, good evening. Murphic Bear, good afternoon. We got Lord Novason as well, good afternoon to you. Yoakum saying he's just having a beer after an awful day at work. I hope everything's okay, mate. Just kick back, relax, enjoy your beer, mate. This is my mood will change now listening to Andy and reading your comments. Thank you very much, mate. Tonight we will also be taking a look at everybody's March painting challenge submissions as well, so we'll sprinkle them in through the evening as we go as well. Joachim reminded me there because he always enters every single month, and I remember looking at his photographs just this evening before we started. Derek Hodge, good evening to you as well. We've got Bruno in saying hello from Mexico City. Hello, Bruno. I would say it in your local language, but I don't know how to speak that. Colin Wakeland, good evening to you. Matt, good evening as well. We got John Estlin, hello fella. He said he's got some Lord of the Rings dwarves on the table. Very nice, sir. Tony Howell, good evening to you as well. Good morning, VJ. Got Tony Booth Leiden, nice to see you as well, my friend. Sarah Kiss is in as well, and Peter Stockdale. We've got loads in tonight. We've got loads. Nice to see you all. We've got Tyrion in as well, saying hi from Nottingham. Rob Zunkson saying he made it as well. And yeah, Sarah saying salutations to our Midlandian brethren. There we go. What a nice little gang of folks we got in this evening. Let me just click this little button on my screen, so the big blue box. It's actually telling me now would be a good time to insert an advert. No, it wouldn't. I'm right in the middle of doing my live stream. Why would I want to insert an advert right in the middle of doing a live stream? That would just be stupid. We got Louis Duke says caught it live, sweet, nice to see you too, fella. We got Blizzaz in for a few as well, and we've also got Mark Burton as well. He says I use both FDM and resin, so do I, mate, to be fair. FDM is great for larger pieces like buildings, for building terrain. You can make lots of custom things and can design 3D, or even if you're just printing others. I've been resistant pulling the trigger on a 3D printer. They always seem a little overcomplicated to get set up and zeroed. We'll chat about that kind of stuff tonight as well. And hello, Mark, as well. Hope you're well. Tony's saying probably going to yell me off for my scratch building and take myself out of 3D printer, but I'm gonna. Do you know what? If you are a scratch builder, I would suggest don't bother ever getting a 3D printer. I'm not a scratch builder. It's not where my skills are. But if you enjoy scratch building stuff, I think a 3D printer could potentially help you with a few bits and pieces. But it's almost like saying, I really enjoy painting minis, but I could buy this machine that just produces pre-painted minis. It's like it will give you a similar effect, but it won't be as good as kind of scratch building. And the fun, I think, if you're a scratch builder, the fun is in the actual process. So yeah, this does not replace kind of like everybody's hobby. It's for people like me who want certain things, and I don't really either have the skills, the time, the knowledge, the experience, the tools to create them themselves. Tony is one hell of a scratch builder. You see some of the stuff that he makes. I could never commit the time to getting good enough to make them, have the amount of equipment in different materials. 3D printing scratches a lot of itches for me to make things simple, so we'll get there. Tolmord, good evening to you, mate. James as well, good evening, sir. How are you? Jess is saying, evening all. I've not seen any pics, but I painted a wadge of beast. A wadge, I like that. A wadge of beastmen. Partway through a board with a river, built a windmill, building a bridge, and half painted some trolls and wrote a game. I would give you a pass this month, mate. I think you're doing all right. Louis saying resin 3D printers can seriously augment scratch building. Though I would agree. They don't necessarily. They won't replace it if that's what you're looking for. But they're nice for like making the little things that maybe you don't want to mess about with. I would definitely agree with that. However, you do then need to go and find all of the files that you want. Where if you're scratch building, you just make what you want. Yeah, Super Pokemon saying Tony's pretty good. Greg Cherry says 3D printer is scratch builder's best friend. Builder stuff that takes 15 hours to print, and print windows and other things that are hard to make. Yeah, I wouldn't disagree. And Jess says I love scratch building. 3D printed doors, windows, chimneys, Griblies, well handy. Yeah, and I guess a lot of that stuff used to come from, you could buy those as kits. You could buy them as kind of like sort of little bits of MDF and stuff like that. It just replaces those kind of bits. Yeah, and Luke said I bet you could make some cool bits to complement them. I've certainly used my resin printer to print off things like sort of little benches, maybe signs for like 3D printed buildings where I've wanted something with a bit higher like detail. I don't think what else I've done, like sort of like resin bases for my miniatures and stuff like that, rather than kind of like sculpting bases and things. But yeah, but I must admit I'm not a huge fan of like printing minis, purely for the fact that it's just a bit of a fun yarn, to be honest, if I'm being perfectly honest. We'll come on to that later on. It's not for everyone, and I don't really think resin printing is really for me either. But yeah, we'll come on to that when we get on a bit further. Yeah, Mark's saying the augmenting scratch building is what I was going to say. Yeah, as I say, I'm not a scratch builder at all. So when it comes to like sort of terrain and stuff, it's where 3D printing works for me. John says I got my Ender 3 for TPU drone parts like GoPro mounts. Yeah, and the resources available mean you can cut and design pretty much anything. Yeah, I would agree with that stuff, mate. Mutton Chops, good evening. Said almost hit 100 minis this year. Just started number 94. Well done, mate. Mark says, I upped my game for small fishes, fences, windows. Yeah, I can imagine. Milk bottles. Yeah, I think it's the little bits of scatter stuff. I would completely agree with that kind of thing. Tony says, I have 3D printer pets that I can call on for architrave and will happily pay, but I love building. Yeah, I just love to see the FDM molds too. Yeah. Luke says, I don't think you're on your mic. It sounds a bit echoey and not as crisp as usual. How about if I just move it a bit closer, mate? Is that all it is? I thought I might have just maybe I just moved it a little bit further away. I also think because I normally have like a mat on my tabletop as well. Because what I've actually got this evening, let me just flick across. We'll be obviously we've got another camera on tonight because we'll be showing some other bits and pieces off some 3D print bits. So I've taken away the mat from the top of my worktop. So as you can see, we've got a wooden top now, and I think that's bouncing some of the stuff back a little bit as well. So yeah, we've also got that. Mordecai Toth says, "Hey Andy, I know you don't need an excuse to cover a variety of tabletop games, but I was just wondering if you're officially participating in other games April." I'm not really, mate, to be honest. I did see it, and to be honest, like, I do other games every single month. It's one of those things. It's like I don't need a special month to talk about other games, because I talk about other games the entire year. So yeah, I'm not. I mean, from a marketing point of view, it might be sensible to kind of hitch my wagon to the back of everybody else, but by the same stretch, like, I do it every month. I do it every month. So yeah, I won't be sort of specifically kind of like shouting about any other games April or whatever they call it. Yeah. It's amazing, Luke, isn't it? I mean, I've literally moved it from there to there. That's all it was. Jezza said, "Ooh, multicam fanciness." What can I say? I look after you lot. Louis says, "Yeah, I picked up my Anycubic Photon D2 6 months ago, and the quality of the prints is insane. Professionally made minis have their place, but so nice to see. I want that and get it in X number of hours." Yeah, I think for me personally, and I'll chat about this later on when we go into the details, is I'm just like, I've always said this, and I'm everybody's different. Everybody enjoys the hobby different. I like miniatures to play games with, and I'm personally a big fan of having the official miniatures when it comes to a particular game. So if that game's a Mantic game, if that game's Atomic Mass Games, if that game's GW, if it's Warlord Games, whatever it is, kind of like buying the minis that go with the game. One, it supports the company that makes the game, and two, it just makes it really easy for me to identify what things are. Now, if I was somebody that just painted minis, I'd probably embrace 3D printing resin minis to basically just have all of the weird and wonderful things that are out there. For me personally, I'd just as easy kind of buy the minis and sort of build them for the game personally. So yeah, that's the thing really. Coffee Pistachio says, "Other games, Andy." Yeah, so maybe everybody should be jumping onto my bandwagon. That's what it is. It's like, hang on a second, look, I've got this tiny little corner of the internet where nobody comes, where I talk about other games all the time. I don't need everybody else coming and jumping on my bandwagon. Jess says, "You have to do a month of 40k math." Yeah, maybe that's the right way to do it. Nobody else is talking about Warhammer this month. Maybe I should go and do that. Mark says, "My latest printer is a Bamboo X1. I really like it for the speed and ease of use. I don't have MMU for it. I like to paint." MMU. I don't know what that is. Greg says, "You're a marketing masochist." Yes, obviously. Matt says, "Which is why mini agnostic games are the way forward." I think it depends, mate. It depends what you like, really. Like, mini agnostic games, I completely get and I completely support, and they're generally written by sort of like solo creators, people very much like myself who kind of just like sort of throw themselves into a hobby, and it becomes a bit more of a job at times. And I 100% want to support those guys. The problem with them is you need people to play those games with generally, unless they're solo games. You need people to play those games with, and if you don't have that kind of dedicated sort of 1, 2, 3 other people that you play with on a regular basis who will invest time and money and effort into sort of creating those games for those lesser known things, or mini agnostic ones, they're never going to see the light of day, really. So that's why, for me personally, I tend not to kind of cover them and stuff, because I don't have sort of regular opponents for those kind of games. That's not to say I don't like them. It's not to say I wouldn't support those people, and it's not to say that there aren't some fantastic games out there. It's just generally not what I play, really. That's all. James is saying, "Did you buy into Dungeon Saga Origins then, sir?" I haven't yet, mate, but I will be. I haven't yet. It says, "Hellstorm Wargaming and their viewers just joined. Say hello." I didn't even know that kind of raid thing was a thing. Hello, Hellstorm Wargaming viewers, if any of you have just joined. welcome to the chat. We're having a bit of a natter about 3D printing at the moment, about sort of resin printing pros, cons, and FDM printing pros and cons and things like that. So nice to see you all jumping in. Luke's saying the trouble with FDM printers at the moment is there are so many options. Resin is a bit smaller range, but FDM has so many now. I'll be chatting about that later on, maybe, because my personal opinions are that you do not need to spend a fortune to get really good looking stuff. Because when it comes to FDM printing, essentially, like, it's the more money you spend, the more kind of quality of life improvements you tend to get. Things like auto leveling and kind of sort of better quality motors and different extra kind of lead screws and all that kind of stuff. But that's not to say that you can't get some fantastic quality stuff from the cheaper end of the market as well. Scott Latham saying, just managed to get back to some paint. First time in approximately 12 to 16 months. Started some Death Court of Krieg Kill Team. Nice, mate. I look forward to seeing them. Yeah, Matt's saying to Luke there as well. Tell me about it. Every time I window shop, it's like, why would I choose this one over that one? I'll get into what I've got and why I bought those particular ones a bit later on. But yeah, it's like, it is a bit of a minefield. It's a bit like the early days of kind of buying mobile phones, when there was just like loads and loads of manufacturers. Everyone's phones did similar kind of things, and you were choosing them on base, like, wait, what the hell am I meant to be buying kind of thing. These days it's like people go, I want a Samsung, I want an Apple kind of thing. And I guess 3D printing will kind of get to that world at some point. Mark saying MMU is multi-material unit, lets you have different colours or different materials. I see what you mean, mate. Yes. Evening to the small board guy. Welcome aboard. Nice to see you. A&E says resin is better than FDM. It really depends upon what you're printing, mate. If you want to print miniatures, resin is far, far superior to FDM stuff. If you're wanting to print big buildings, I would suggest FDM is far, far superior to resin. And it's not just about terrain and stuff. And that's what I want to kind of come on to a little bit later on. Colin Mack, hello, mate. How are you doing? Crypt Shadow says Mikey from Hellstorm is 3D printing terrain, which he may or may not use for Warhammer. You're not allowed to talk about Warhammer this month. I thought that was the new thing. Luke says, always wonder how much you get out of a roller filament as well. Same with a bottle of resin. We'll come on to that kind of stuff in a little bit as well. Hello, Mikey. How you doing, mate? Nice to see you. He said 60 tables worth. I'll tell you what, mate, you've got your work cut out there a little bit if you're 60 tables worth of this stuff. But I'm sure it'll be worth it in the end, mate. I'm sure it'll be worth it. So, we might as well crack on and chat a little bit about 3D printing and stuff. And I will come to the community showcase, the paint and stuff in a bit as well. So, why is an FDM printer the best hobby investment I ever made? The reason for it is when I first got into 3D printing, or I first thought about 3D printing, I said, FDM printing's not for me. I'm not a big fan of the layer lines. It's difficult to sand. It's difficult. You've got there's a lot of kind of work in the end product, if you like, once it's printed. I want the nice crisp clay stuff that resin printing gives me, and I want to print busts to paint and all that kind of stuff. So I bought, and I'm going back some time ago now, I bought an Elegoo Mars 2 Pro, which is kind of sitting on my bench over here, which is why I'm here, which is why I'm looking that way. And I also bought an Elegoo Mercury cure and wash station, or wash and cure station as well. And I was happy with that. It was printing off the kind of stuff that I wanted, and I was kind of trotting along quite nicely. I didn't really enjoy the process of 3D printing resin minis, like the kind of the post-processing of cleaning them up, the pre-production stuff of making sure all the supports are right, the cleaning up any failed prints, all that kind of stuff. It's a bit of a learning curve, and when something printed off nice, it was kind of, I was pleased with it. But when it didn't print off quite so nice, and you had failed prints, and you were cleaning the FEP, which is the film on the bottom of the tank, all that kind of stuff, it's a bit of a fanny on. So fast forward about 6 months, and I decided I wanted to print some terrain for the channel rather than buying terrain, and FDM printing was the better choice for that. Now, I looked online. Elegoo had just released a new FDM printer. I liked Elegoo because I thought their customer service, the quality of their machines were good, and they'd released the Neptune 2, which was a pretty standard, almost, Ender 3 copy, if you like, but it was only £150. And I thought, for £150, if it's a complete disaster, I haven't wasted a load of money, I'll give it a try. I also bought it from Amazon as well, so if it was that bad, I could send it back. So I took a bit of a punt on it, and I was actually really surprised with just how good the quality of stuff that was coming off this printer. I'd only spent £150 on it. I got some files from Corvus Games Terrain to print for Marvel Crisis Protocol to print off some buildings, and I was really surprised with just how good the quality of those prints were. Pretty much from day one, it was printing fine. Now, over a period of time, I did kind of have a few bumps and things where they were starting to warp on the bottom of the bed and getting the plate set up to level. Everyone says bed leveling, but you're not leveling the bed. What you're doing is you're making sure that it's exactly the same distance from the nozzle all the way across the bed. So it could be off level, but as long as when it moves, like the nozzle is always the same distance from the bed, you're basically making it perpendicular, if you like. But everyone calls it bed leveling. And so I had a few bits of issues, and then I found this stuff, which is called 3D lac. And people will tell you, oh, you don't need to have any adhesives on the bed or anything like that. You've just got to level them properly, all that kind of stuff. I agree, you probably can, but this stuff has been an absolute game changer for me personally. It is a sprayer that it's an aerosol. You basically clean the print bed, you spray this on, and it basically just gives a bit of like a tacky finish to allow the prints to stick to the bed. And honestly, the difference was absolutely night and day of using it before that and using it after I started using this stuff. So much so, I bought like 4 cans of the stuff. It's in a little cabinet here so that I don't run out mid-print. And from that point on, the quality of the prints I was printing improved again. Everything was absolutely nailed to the bed. It was perfectly kind of flat. There wasn't any kind of movement. I wasn't getting any corners warping or anything like that. What a difference. Somebody saying there in the chat, yeah, I use hairspray. I tried hairspray, I tried glue sticks, I tried other bits and pieces that had been recommended, and they worked intermittently. This stuff, I would say, works absolutely bang on 100% of the time for me. Not sponsored, I've never been sent any, I've bought it myself. Like, it's one of those things that's not like nobody's going, can you talk some nice things about this? It's what I use, and I've never had any problems. Now, what I've been printing, and the reason I've been amazed with this kind of stuff is I've been printing big terrain pieces, but I've also been printing off some smaller pieces too. So I will show you some of the things I should say that I've been printing. So you all know I play God Tier, and I went to the God Tier Creator Clash a while ago with Mikey, if he's still in the chat. And so what I did was I printed off, these are the little hexes for the objective markers, and so I printed off these little pieces that somebody very kindly put online for free, the files, and I printed these off with the resin 3D print, with the FDM printer, I should say. And as you can see, they work perfectly well. I just kind of sprayed them black, painted a little logo on the end of it, and these work absolutely perfect just to kind of store all of the bits and pieces. Now, these are the kind of things that you would never really kind of find for sale. Yeah, you sometimes get like sort of MDF type stuff. You sometimes get like acrylic tokens and things like that. But storage stuff seems to be a little bit sparse when it comes to certain games, especially games that are maybe not as popular as some others. Because like, where's the market for it, for like making things out of kind of plastic or stuff like that? So that was the little objective marker. And then I also got this as well. Let me zoom out a little bit. And this is another kit. So I designed a little base for it, and the reason I designed that base is because it fits it into my storage case that I made for it. So that's just to kind of hold it in place so it doesn't rattle about inside my storage case. And then you basically got this little holder, and again it just holds all of my tokens. And this was the kind of point when I started printing off these things, oops, bouncing my camera around there, that I kind of really started getting into my my FDM 3D printing. these are fantastic for board game pieces, for kind of tokens for Warhammer or anything like that. So when you want some storage options, this is where FDM printers really do come into their own. And these were files that somebody very kindly kind of made and put up online. But I'd actually, like I say, I made the little kind of base and stuff. I'm literally using the most basic of software, which is like the 3D, I think it's called 3D Maker or something, that comes free with Windows. And it works really, really well for basic stuff. So for example, I made these trays here as well for putting my cards in. And again, I made these myself. There wasn't a file online for these, so I made these myself. Kind of just marked out little kind of places where I can kind of put my finger in to flip the cards over and stuff. And I made 3 of these. And again, these store in my holder and stuff as well. But these were all designed. I designed these myself. So these were like God tier stuff. And what I'm also looking at the moment as well is potentially making a 3D God tier board. So we've got these little kind of hexes as well. Let me zoom into these a bit. Oops, wrong way. So again, these are FDM printed. You could certainly print these in resin, but he says moving around the camera. But yeah, but these are printed with the FDM printer as well. Now these ones I've actually printed out at 0.1 height, I think it is 0.1 millimeter layer heights, which obviously gives you a little bit more detail. And then there's one that I've very quickly just kind of painted up just to kind of show the difference a little bit. Now it's going to take a lot of these to make a God tier board, so these are just a couple of samples just to kind of see the type of thing. But like, this is the kind of thing that I probably wouldn't spend the time scratch building, because that's not my forte. That's not what I'm very good at. But these are Crypt Shadows. Look, Crypt Shadows they're saying, is this of Underworlds? These can be used for Underworlds, but these are actually, I'm going to use them for God tier. They're exactly the same size as God tier minis. If I take if I take one of these objective hexes and put it over there, you can see that they are exactly the same size. So they're the perfect size for God tier as well as Underworlds as well. So these were a couple of bits and pieces that I've been making. Going back a little while ago, I made these when I was in an Armada tournament down at Mantic Games. These are the cards that you get for Armada, and you need to kind of put a lot of tokens onto them. These are the ones that basically tell you kind of what speed what your damage is, what speed you're at and stuff like that. I even put in my little BlackJack Legacy logo as well. And I improved upon these again later on about putting like little holes in the back of these as well, so I could kind of push my fingers through and lift out the tokens. But again, these were super quick to design, super quick to make. And these were just like sort of quality of life things for the games that I was playing. There was somebody had made some MDF versions of these online, but I thought they were a bit chunky for what I needed. These were absolutely perfect for the game that I needed. Now I also play Marvel Crisis Protocol, and again, let me zoom out a little bit more. This was a storage box that I printed off as well. So I got these files online. This was a storage box. I even managed to sort of customize it and put my name down the side. But this is magnetic on the top. You can store my character cards in here, and then on the back there's a little space to put all of your different crisis cards and stuff as well. You can just store them in the back, and these are perfect. Nice hard case, keeps everything in one place as well. And then I also, if I can reach it, also printed off this little holder here as well. So I designed this myself for the top, and this is the score tracker that you use with Marvel Crisis Protocol. Could probably do with a little bit of a dry brush across the top just to stand out, but it does the job. And then that lid comes off, and then inside is the storage for all my dice and my tokens as well. And again, these are kind of like just a nice little kind of quality of life things that I'm finding by having an FDM printer. I'm really kind of enjoying it as well. Now this is a little building. This was a building. I was chatting to the guy that basically owns the company Traders Galaxy and the Bot Wars stuff. And we're talking about maybe doing something about Bot Wars on the channel soon. And I thought what I'll do is I'll downsize some of my Marvel Crisis Protocol files that I've got from Corvus Games Terrain, and see if I can downsize them to scale them for 10mm to make them fit that particular one. So this is a building that was designed at sort of like 28-30mm scale, and I basically just reduced it by 30% and printed it off. And it just kind of shows that even when you reduce the size of it, I mean, kind of ignore the shine because it's going to be painted, but even when you reduce the size of it, the quality is still like relatively good. So it just goes to show. Let me just zoom in a little bit. You can kind of still see there, like I said, there's obviously the shine of the plastic there as well, but the doors on the back, you can still see the brickwork, the windows there as well, obviously printed a little bit thinner so you can kind of sort of paint them in that little sign on the side, and then the door on the front. But yeah, I mean, sort of, I don't really have any minis of a decent size there, but yeah, but this has been scaled down to 10mm. So it's kind of like, so these are the kind of things that you can look at. Now what I've also done as well is I've taken some pictures of some terrain pieces because they're a bit big to get on camera. So I will show you some of my terrain pieces. Now this is a building. So once I'd kind of nailed my printer, I'm looking at the wrong place, my camera's normally over there. Once I'd kind of nailed the printer, like basically kind of my set, I was happy with the settings, I was happy with the quality. That spray stuff that I showed you before was absolutely nailing it flat to the beds. I started to kind of try and print some bigger stuff. Now you can see here, I've used a couple of Malifaux models just for scale, so you can kind of see the scale of this building itself. And I printed this out over the Christmas time, and it was going to be part of a video about the biggest 3D print I've done, and I've just never got around to editing together. I will at some point, but yeah. So that just gives you an idea of kind of the scale of the miniatures. And then if I flick across here, this will just show you just how big this building is. Now if I scroll in a little bit, you can see where the miniatures are down here. It just shows you the size of this particular building. Now it's not all glued together, which is why you can kind of see some gaps in the stuff in the top and stuff. I've purposefully not kind of glued it all together yet, so it's quite loosely put together, and it's obviously not being painted. But yeah, it just gives you an idea of the size of that particular building. If I scroll across a couple, these are some other buildings that came with the same set as well. So this was like a little kind of little wizard's hut. Was like an alchemist's hut or something like that, I think it was. Just being sprayed brown there as well. But you can see this is all printed in FDM as well. Like even if I go back to here as well, so when you can see these buildings here, all of this kind of crosswork on the windows, none of this building had any support. I didn't have to do anything except put the files onto the printer. Now granted, it did take a while, and it was taking so much time that I actually ended up buying a second printer, but we'll come on to that in a second. But yeah, the quality is great. Absolutely, I'm more than happy with the quality. These are some other bits like a tree. I need to print off one of the little canopies for it. This is another kind of like a witch's hut as well. It's a bit shiny because of the primer that I've used, but I just kind of primed it over black, and you can see one of the canopies there. There's another couple of canopies to be printed for the tops, but that just gives you an idea of some of the bigger scale buildings and things that you can make. Inside this building is all kind of sort of printed as well. So the floors are all wooden floorboards, the walls are all kind of wooden beams and stuff. There's all of the layers can come apart. So whilst it might be a bit oversized for gaming, it'll be lovely for something like a game of D&D or something like that. The doors are all open and that kind of stuff as well. This is something I've printed off an entire board, a 3-foot by 3-foot subway board for Marvel Crisis Protocol that I need to paint up at some point. But what I decided to do, I think it was over the Christmas period, I was looking for something to make a video about, and I got so far with this and got sidetracked. But I was going to make like a diorama out of it. So what I've got is I've got parts of the underground subway that I basically stuck to a sheet of MDF, put an MDF sheet at the back there just to support it, and this was going to get painted up to be a bit of a diorama, but this is as far as I've got at the moment. So everything you can see here is all printed but on an FDM printer, other than those 2 little benches and that little bin there at the back, which I've printed off using a resin printer. But the little newsstand, all of these walls at the back, the staircase that goes up there, these girders that support the ceiling, the tracks themselves, these platforms on the bottom, and the kind of like the pavement steps, All of them are all FDM printed, and again, that file is available from Corvus Games Terrain. Again, this is not sponsored. I wasn't sent those files. I bought all of the files from there. I just find their stuff really does a good job. And just a kind of little bit of a closer up there. Now if you super zoom in, you can see some layer lines in there. Like you can see where the layer lines are. Obviously, that's the way FDM printers work. These are all printed at like 0.2. So that's like not a really fine scale. It's kind of just good for, it's a good bit like sort of balance between speed and quality. You can print it like 0.4 mil, which would obviously get things done twice as fast, but you would obviously see that the lines will be much more pronounced. You can print things like I did with those little hexes. You can print them at 0.1. Obviously the quality will be a lot finer, but then it takes twice as long because each one of those layers obviously needs to do it twice. So, but this just gives you an idea of the kind of things that I've been printing with the FDM printer. Now, if you've never seen an FDM printer before and you're not quite sure kind of like how do they work, this is basically kind of like my printers. This is them working away there in the background. Let me just click that off. So as you can see, I said I've got two now, and that's when I was printing off that huge big building. Elegoo were having a sale over the Christmas, and they had basically they had a sale on their older versions as well. So the one on the right is my original one. The one on the left is the second one that I bought, and I think I paid £91 delivered, and it came within 2 days for that one on the left. And like £91 or £92 I think it was, for me is an absolute no-brainer if you're diving into this kind of thing. You can buy newer versions. You can buy bigger sort of beds. You can buy sort of self-leveling or sort of auto-leveling beds. You can buy them with better quality motors and things. But for me personally, like they don't really print any faster because it's an element of sort of melting down the let me put a different image on for you so you can kind of see the kind of stuff. It's a case of melting the plastic and then letting it harden again. So there are some physical properties in there, so it's not like better machines go particularly faster. And so for me, it was and rather than buying a printer with a bigger bed, it was cheaper to buy two printers with smaller beds, and then whatever the part was, have it in two pieces and print them like twice as fast, if that makes sense. So rather than printing one big piece that might take, let's say, 24 hours, I could print two smaller pieces in 12 hours. So that was my thinking behind it. And honestly, as I said before, I'm more than happy with the quality of this. So for like about 100 and what was that, 150 and let's say 90 quid, 240 pound, I got two printers that are basically for that period of time when I was printing these buildings off, were pretty much on like sort of almost 24 hours a day for a number of for a number of weeks. But it just kind of shows you, I'm not sure if on this one if I kind of zoom in a little bit, but let me just skip ahead a little bit. You can kind of see the time on this one. This one was taken like 28 hours into that print to get to that stage. I think that one went on for about like 34 hours or something. So some of them can take a while, but at the end of the day, you just kind of walk away and leave it. So yeah, if I kind of go back here, it just gives you an idea really. Like I personally don't think that you have to have a super fancy, super expensive printer. It depends what you want to print. Like some people will want to have, I'm just getting the chat back up here. Some people will want to have bigger plates to print bigger things. But for me, the convenience of having two printers going was kind of more like it. Let's have a little look in here and there, see what people are saying. I'll not go too far back. Yeah, Matt's saying that those tiles would be good for Battletech. Yeah, exactly, mate. He says even the layer lines work for things like hills, giving it an almost map-like vibe. Yeah, I mean, you're always going to get these kind of lines. Even if you're printing these in resin, you're going to get these kind of layer lines purely because like it's not perfectly smooth. It's, you know, print a bit, move up, print a bit. The resin would be the same, but the difference with resin would be those kind of like sort of gradations will be a lot closer together because they'd be like, it's be thinner if you like. But even getting down to 0.1, like, you know, I think that's more than good enough really for that kind of stuff. Lord Novus is saying, do it. Was thinking about making a god tier board. I stopped when thought about setting it up. I was going to use Grave Guild Hexton pieces. These are the same size as the official game. Yeah. Just as saying, see, I'm a maker, so this kind of sort of stuff is like hand making. So I love it that the folks who don't want to make things like get the joy of creating stuff with 3D printing. Yeah, I agree, mate. It's not that I wouldn't enjoy scratch building. For me, it would be like starting from scratch and learning a whole new thing. Where with 3D printing, like I don't feel like it's become a hobby in itself. It's not like I've devoted my life to 3D printing kind of thing. I feel like it's a tool in the same way an airbrush is. And I'm like, of course, I'm not going to be printing off like models. I'm not going to be printing off minis with this kind of printing. But the fact that I can make sort of like little token boxes, I can make, like, for example, my laptop is mounted underneath my desk here, so that basically that my desk's clear when I'm working, and the laptop is mounted underneath my desk with the screen kind of sticking out the end, which has got the chat on, and that is made with me making a couple of brackets like on the 3D printer and screwing them to the underside of the desk, and in my laptop kind of like slots into it like a bit of a tray type thing. Like I've printed off like little spaces and things for little jobs around the house. Like it's amazing how I've found uses for an FDM printer, where the resin one, whilst it's good and it makes some fantastic stuff, I just find that I hardly use it really. Andrew saying, now if we can just get it in color. Well, you can get different colored resin. You can get different colored PLA plastics, which is kind of one way to do bits and pieces. But like for me, it's part of it is the painting side of it as well, the hobby side of it. So yeah, I like to kind of do the painting side as well. Matt says, Bot Wars is a generic IP free version of a certain popular 80s cartoon about transforming. It's not actually. It used to be. It's no longer that closely connected, shall we say. Yeah, Lord Novus is saying that house is huge, ideal for Malifaux. Yeah, I was thinking of things like Moonstone. I was thinking of a bit of a centerpiece for the back of the board, something to battle around and stuff like that. It was just kind of, just something quite nice, really. Mark's saying using filling primer also helps with smoothing lines. Yeah, I've heard about that, mate. I've never really tried it, if I'm perfectly honest. I've never really seen it to use it, if I'm perfectly honest. But it's never been that much of an issue for me personally. Tony says, I do love these. I said in Discord I was slavering at the idea of painting this up, mucking it up and distressing it. Yeah, I think that's the other side of it as well, is you can use it in the same way people use sort of MDF buildings as a bit of a starting point. You could certainly do the same thing with resin, with 3D printed buildings as well. James says, I want to print off just the fronts of some New York houses to make an MCP display for my minis. You could absolutely do that, mate. I mean, like I say, this 3D maker software that's free with Windows, you could import a building that somebody's designed and literally just cut the back of it off and just make a piece out of the front. And potentially lie it flat on the printer bed, or even do it standing up with maybe some support at the back just to steady it. But you could certainly just like slice it off and have the piece that you wanted. Andrew's saying he's been toying with the idea of using Blender and the file rips from World of Warcraft to make a table, but a lot of those files are kind of junky. Yeah, I can imagine it's probably a bit more in depth. Like sort of getting into Blender and that kind of thing is probably a step too far for me. Like using that 3D maker is exactly what I used to kind of make this kind of stuff. It was perfect for just designing very basic kind of. Because essentially all you do is you start with like a cube and you can hollow it out or whatever. You make it whatever size you want, and then you can kind of like stamp bits out of it to kind of make the holders where the tokens will go and all that kind of stuff. It's just about sort of getting the measurements right, really. Super Pokemon says, my only problem with 3D printers, resin or FDM, is the smell. I've never noticed the smell made from FDM printers, if I'm perfectly honest. It might be the kind of PLA I'm using. I mean, they're in this room where I am. The two printers are literally over there. Like, if I might be able to spin the camera around. Let me try. See if I can just. Might be able to do it. Might be more difficult than I thought. Let's get that under there. Let's tighten that up. There we go. So if I flick across to here, so you can see, let me just swivel them around a little bit. You can see my two FDM printers there, just over there on my table. And yeah, they just live here in the room where I am. I kind of keep an eye on them. The one on the right has got like a glass bed on it that I basically upgraded just when I was having all of the different problems with getting it to stick. I decided to try a glass bed on it, which did make a difference. And I've fitted a couple of lights to the top of them as well. But yeah, I mean, they're in this room with me. I'm working here. I don't notice any smell from them, if I'm perfectly honest. But like I say, this kind of gives a bit of a hairspray smell, and my wife always goes, "Oh, that stinks a bit," but it's always this spray. But yeah, I'm not sure it really gives off any particular smell. Let's have a little look here. Matt's saying Creality has a resin printer going for £99 at the moment. Older, slower tech, but for an intro price, it seems pretty sweet. Yeah, I think older resin tech is things like the quality of the screen, whether it's like sort of 1080p, whether it's 4K, whether it's 8K, all that kind of stuff. The quality of the screen itself. Some of them are LCD screens. Some of them are like more like higher quality screens. There's a lot of difference, I think, in resin tech, but when it comes to the FDM stuff, it's kind of quality of components, like the physical way they work is generally kind of the same on them all. Mark's saying there as well, also find out magic number for your layer lines helps a lot. For example, a CR10.04 and its multiples work the best. Yeah, I mean, a lot. To be honest, I've not really messed about with it. I've gone into, I used the slicer that I use is basically Prusa slicer. It come with what's the other one called? The Elegoo Cura, and I found that it didn't give the best prints. Switching to a different slicer software, which basically takes the object and slices it into layers. I found that the Prusa slicer works better. So I've just basically gone with like the standard settings really, and I've always been happy. And Mark saying bigger isn't always better, more chance to warp. That was the other thing as well. Like, unless you are really printing lots and lots of bigger scale stuff and you need that extra bed space, you're introducing potentially more problems, because you know what it's like trying to like balance anything out. The bigger it is, the more the ends will be out rather than the middles. So the bigger the bed, the more points that there is that you need to try and like kind of balance out. Matt saying 28 hours. Geez, do not go into the hobby room, guys. Do not sneeze around it. Do not go and poke and things. My little lad's been absolutely fine. Like these are just kind of printing away, and he just doesn't go anywhere near them. He just like leaves them alone. It's like the novelty's kind of worn off a little bit around the house now. Cleo is saying hello everyone. Got here late. Was there a discussion about whether FDM printers give off fumes, need to be isolated from pets, elderly, ants? I mean, at the end of the day, you are melting plastic and then re-hardening it. So there's potential to be some sort of like some fumes, but so I'm no expert. I'm not giving you health and safety advice. I've never noticed any smells or any fumes from my printers, but it's not something I've potentially sort of worried about. You should do your own research on that kind of stuff. I'm not a safety expert. Dear says enclosures should reduce the smell and the noise, fairly easy to DIY. Originally, my printer used to be in the garage, and it was quite cold in the garage, and if you opened the garage doors in winter, there was obviously a bit of a draft of cold air would come in, and sometimes that would make the bottom warp. So I actually bought an enclosure for it. It wasn't particularly expensive, and that enclosure really helped as well, because not only did it stop any drafts, but because it was kind of like thermal lined, it kept it nice and warm inside as well, so actually reduced kind of the amount of energy that it used for having to like heat the temperature up all the time, because it wasn't cold in its in the room itself. I find that I didn't need it when I brought them indoors. So yeah, Coda's a sin. You need to keep the cats away from it. I don't have any pets, which obviously helps. Let's have a little look down here. Yeah, Matt's saying for resin printers, you need to kind of have good ventilation and good breathing mask if you want to cut down the risk of long-term health. I would agree with that. Certainly much more with resin, but I think we kind of, we know resin is a nasty chemical kind of thing. Always wearing gloves, wear glasses, safety glasses. You don't want to get it in your eyes. Wear a mask, have good ventilation. I personally find with the FDM stuff, that consideration is not quite as risky, if you like. Jess is saying on last year's CVs, we had 4 FDMs and 1 resin, printing bones and things, and then we'd mould it and cast. Occasional mornings, we'd walk in and print a fieldsman, and kind of a knot of FDM all over, mostly great. I'll touch wood, I have never had like a massive big, you know, coming into that bird's nest moment kind of thing. It was one of the reasons I brought the printers indoors was because when I was doing those big prints over the Christmas, it was nice to be able to just pop my head in and kind of check on it rather than having to go out to the garage and check all the time. So yeah, that was why I kind of did that stuff. Let's have a little skim down here a little bit. Yeah, Dio Vincent, PLA seems to have the least order. Yeah, I certainly haven't noticed any orders. Luke saying you got a printer cozy. I did have a like an enclosure thing for it, but I've not used it since I brought them indoors. In fact, let me I'll see if I can find the kind of thing that I had. I'm sure they'll probably have it on Amazon somewhere, the one that I bought. So if I just go to Amazon, just click on this. Bring this out a second. Good radio this, folks, isn't it? If I go to my orders, you know, bollocks to it. I'd say it's asking me to sign all sorts of stuff. If I just put 3D enclosure, there we go. So if I go across to here, so these are the kind of things. This is the one that I had, although it certainly wasn't that price. Let's click on that one there. I think I paid about £40 for mine when I had it. Now these might have gone up in price a little bit since then, but it's just like basically like a little tent thing. Basically, reduces a little bit of. That kind of gives you an idea there of what it's like, where the basically zips up the front. That's exactly the same as the one that I had, but like I say, I think I only paid about £40 for mine. They might do them in different sizes and stuff, and it certainly was worth it when my printer was in the garage. But yeah, like I say, when I brought it indoors, I found like I didn't need that. So let's have a look here. Andre is saying, although resin cost 5 to 10 times more, I still use it for my terrain projects because of the reliability I find with resin and the detail and no layer lines. I mean, my experience is the complete opposite in terms of reliability. I don't find that I don't find my resin printer as reliable, but that could be more to do with, depends upon the files that I'm getting, what supports they've got. There's a lot of different settings that you can adjust and play with like exposure times and the first layer exposure times and all these kind of things. I just find there's more to go wrong personally with a resin printer, but that's personal taste. And you certainly can't be printing those big buildings kind of thing out of resin. It just becomes kind of not very cost effective. Andre saying, Darth Kraus says, I've been using an Elegoo Mars 3 for 3 days now and I love it. ABS like resin, it's a bit whiffy but not toxic. I still will be making sure you're wearing gloves and breathing stuff and ventilation and glasses, but you do you. It says PPE is key, yeah, but yeah, it's easy to use. I think I kind of had those feelings when I first started. After a while, the novelty wore off and it just became a pain in the backside to deal with, if I'm perfectly honest. But that's just personal taste. Cleo, thank you very much for the donation there. It says to add to the safety gear fund. Thank you. Matthew Rose says, I hope you're doing well. I'm high on being back from vacation, but I know that will wear off soon. I tell you what, mate. I've got a week away next week. I'm away to Centre Parks with my family. And yeah, I'm looking forward to a little bit of downtime myself as well. James says, I've only paid for one 3D model set, one for modular 40k scenery, which was great. So much of it is linked to Patreons and stuff. How do you find good STLs? So it's another good question. Personally, myself, I tend to just see stuff online, and then most of it is for sale on like My Mini Factory. So there's a website called My Mini Factory, which is a little bit like Amazon for STL files. The vast majority of stuff I will find on there. And you also find that a lot of people who have Patreons who sell their stuff, sell it through My Mini Factory as well. So it's a good place to search for it. I sometimes see things like as Kickstarters, like for example, those big buildings that I printed off and showed you before. I bought them as a Kickstarter. And I think I paid something in the region of about like, I don't think it was much. It might have been like $30 or $40 for like an entire sort of city's worth of different buildings. I think there's about 15 different buildings in that terrain set. So yeah, so obviously 3D files are a lot cheaper than physical buildings, but yeah, I tend to My Mini Factory, and then also seeing stuff like advertised on Facebook and things. Andre saying, I'm sure as many said, as long as the good ventilation, take the proper precautions, you should be fine. Yeah, I mean, yeah, definitely. Matt says there's so many different reasons for prints to fail. It's more like an art to getting it right than a science. That's kind of how I've felt with resin printing, is that it can be printing quite happily, printing bits and pieces off, and then something will change. And you're not really sure what that is. It might be like the temperature of the resin that you've poured in. It might be, you might upload a file and there might be something in the file that's not quite right. The pre-supported miniatures haven't been pre-supported very well. I haven't supported them very well when I've done them myself. The size of the connectors to the where the point where there's a port attached to the model can either be so big that they don't break off properly, or they can be so small that they don't attach properly when it's being printed. I tend to find that side of things is just, it's a bit more hassle than I personally want. That's not to say that you can't get good at it and get good results. For me personally, it's just more hassle than I need. 99.9% of everything I've put through my FDM printers has all been support free. So there's absolutely like nothing to worry about from that side of thing. Matt says it's so pretty, you must buy. The cry of every tabletop gamer at some point. Yeah, I think there's an element of that as well, mate. But so yeah, so when it comes to 3D printing and FDM printers especially, it's not necessarily just about printing like miniatures and stuff, like stuff for your games. It's not even necessarily just about printing terrain, which is one of the reasons I bought mine. It makes some fantastic terrain, but it also makes all the cool little kind of, you know, little dashboards and token holders and all that kind of bits and pieces. And that is why, for me, it's been a bit of a game changer. It's why I honestly think it's been the best hobby purchase that I've ever bought. And also to note as well that I didn't buy the highest profile, top of the range printers either. I know a lot of people, you see a lot of people online, YouTubers especially, like recommending this printer and, oh, I think this printer's the best one. I think a lot of the time they got sent them for free. And of course they get sent the latest versions, you know, the bigger ones, the more high profile ones, the ones the companies want to sell. And they'll tell you how great they are, and I'm not dismissing the fact that they're probably right. They probably are great, but I don't ever really see anybody saying, here's one that I bought 2 years ago, and here's this brand new one, and here's the two prints that came off them, exactly the same files. Like that, there's the difference. Because essentially, when it comes to FDM printers, the things that limit you are the speed you can go. Like the faster you go, the worse the quality gets over a point. So speed isn't just something that's suddenly going to become faster. The melting point of the plastic, if you overheat it, it takes longer to kind of cool down again. So you've got to get that little window. So it's not like you can heat it up faster, because it's still got to cool down at the same rate, kind of thing. And how high each layer is. Like the printers I've got can do like 0.8, 0.6 layer lines, but it just takes a long time. So you can buy bigger beds and fancier stuff and all sorts of things that will might make them last longer, might make the sort of like the quality of life thing better. But generally for me, I found that, like I say, that one there, £92 I paid for it, and it printed off that big building. It printed off all of these kind of stuff, and it's, you know, it's more than I could ever really need. Matthew, hello mate, thank you very much for the super chat there. He says, good to be back from fancy shite and back with us. Nice one, mate. Yeah, James is saying things like the token holders are amazing. You should definitely share those STLs. Yeah, honestly, I mean, some of them things they're not necessarily my designs. Some of them are free online. If you go to Cults, I think it's called Cults 3D. I did pronounce that right, Cults 3D. If you go to my mini factory, if you go to Thingiverse, there's a lot of free files. These little hexagon files were designed for Warhammer Underworlds, and they're all free. The guy that designed these has a Patreon, but he put these files online for free. And if I do a video about kind of making a full-size God tier board, I'll certainly make sure that I kind of credit them and stuff, because without them I would have had to try and find out how to do this kind of thing myself. But it's amazing how much stuff is out there for free, and like the files for the Marvel Crisis Protocol stuff for these boxes. I think I bought the files for these, but I think they cost me like about $3 or something like that. Like, and in the files were like multiple different sizes of these boxes and things like that. So yeah, it's amazing what you can find. And then, like I said before as well, like 3D Maker, the Windows file, that's what I used to make these myself as well. So fantastic bits of kit, I would suggest. Right, let's have a little look. I think what we should do, folks, is we should show off some of the submissions, I think, for this month's painting challenge. So for those that don't know, the painting challenge this month was March to War. So basically you got to kind of come up with some tedious link to, like, you know, whether it's like kind of you're painting up an army that's going to march to war, you're painting up a couple of units to add to a unit to army, you're going to march your army to war for the first game, any of that kind of stuff. But we'll start with Mr. Andrew Fairbanks, and Andrew says, let's have a little look here. He says, here's my March submission of 3 Krieg Guardmen that got painted, considering the 20 were still on the sprue as late as last Thursday. I'm happy with just 3. Also pictured are the models my twin 3-year-olds got to paint at the table this weekend. Unfortunately, I had to help them and didn't get to paint any myself. There's nothing wrong with that, mate. Nice to see kids getting painting in as well. So those are 3 Kriegs in the middle, and then the kids have been having a good old bash at the Tyranids there as well. So yeah, they look suitably ready for war, mate. Thank you very much for joining in this month as well and submitting something. And nice to see the kids picking up the brushes as well, mate. So yeah, good on you. Next up, we have Mr. Ben Mitchell. Let me find Ben's email here. And Ben says he purchased the Hellboy board game at the start of March and wanted to see if I could paint it all up to a decent tabletop standard within the month. Using some basic airbrushing and base colours along with the Army Painter quick shade and a matte varnish, I'm pretty happy with how everything turned out, and I will use these techniques a lot more moving forward when I just want to get through a good number of models and get them to the table as quick as possible. So here we have the main heroes, is that the right word? The main characters for Hellboy the board game. We have Abe, Hellboy, we have, I forget her name now, and Johan, Liz Sherman, that's the name, I forgot what she was called. Here we can see he's been working on the frogmen there as well. We've got Rasputin and the Kraken monster. I do like that, man. That pink come out really nice, mate. You've done a good job with that airbrush. Frog monsters all done. Nice to see. Look at how you're whizzing through these. All these done in a month. Nice work. So yeah, there's the box set done there, mate. Very, very nicely done. I like it. Something about playing a board game as well with nice painted minis, isn't it? Always feels nice. So congrats, mate, and well done on painting all those. And thank you for your submission. Next up, we've got Zingbo. We've got Chris there. And Chris has said he's painted... we've where we got Morgoth's Crushers are an underworld warband, but they will see double duty in Warcry 2. And he personally prefers these sort of grungy colours to the bright yellow armour that GW likes to paint. And then he's also done as well, he says he painted the Terminator for another community's March for Macragge challenge. The colour scheme is inspired by some Terminators I saw in White Dwarf from 89, back before Ultramarines developed their gold fetish. Nice, mate, I really like that. Nice work on the checks as well on the arm there as well. A nice bit of basing too. Some lovely work there, mate. Thank you very much for taking part. Next up, we've got Mr. Dan Kennedy. And Dan says he's been using the March to War challenge to help get the Enforcers finished, ready for a Northern Kings event at the end of April. And he got these 3 units finished, just 3 more to go. So, awesome work, mate. I always like seeing Dan's stuff. He's a hell of a painter. Nice basing as well on these, and I love the green colour. I painted mine green as well, but these are a bit brighter than mine. Let's skim across to these. So we've got some of the troops here as well. Very nicely done. These models are weird in terms of, I'm not a massive fan of the sculpts, and they're a bit soft in places, but you once painted, I think they look better than the kind of blank sculpts, if you like, and Dan's done a cracking job of these. The jet bikes, probably my favourite units in the game, like from how they look. I do like these jets. But yeah, lovely work on the basing as well, Dan. And here we go with the troops as well. Nice. The green will really stand out on the tabletop, mate. Lovely work. Very, very nice, buddy. So yeah, thank you very much for the submission. Cheers, bud. Next up, we've got Deep Red. And Deep Red, if I can find his email. He's been painting up some Romans here. No, let me just see, because he's got 2 emails here. He said, I wasn't sure whether or not to send this, as they're not real miniature figs. They're things I've made out of clear acrylic. And also, as you can see, I'm not a painter with either talent or patience. I tell you what, mate, absolutely. And these nobody said they had to be figures. Nobody said they had to be kind of like sort of specific miniature stuff. But no, these are nice, mate. So these are all acrylic stuff. I like it. They do look quite impressive, to be fair. Nice work, mate. I bet yeah, cool to see them all ranked up on the table a bit together as well. It's nice to see different stuff, people doing different things. Like that's the whole point of this community. You know, we all like different stuff. We all play different games. We all have different painting standards. I love these, mate. Nice work indeed. That gives you an idea of the scale, and they're smaller than I thought as well, actually, which is even more impressive. Nice one, man. Those are the chariots as well. Nice work, buddy. I like them. Thank you very much for taking part, and thank you for sending them. We've got Dom Symes. Now, Dom forwarded these to me rather than email them, so I've got no idea. I've seen this model before, but I can't remember where it's from. But yeah, very nice work. Love the colours. Nice with the little shield on the waistband there as well. I've seen that belly somewhere before. But I'm not going to reveal that. I might have saw it in a mirror once. But yeah, nice work, mate. I do love that. Nice work on the feet and the skin tones as well. I really do like that, mate. Beautiful on the eyes as well. I'll tell you what, I've got no idea the scale of this, but yeah, really, really good work, mate. Good stuff, Dom. And then we've got Eds as well, who's not here tonight. Ed's been doing a bit of Star Wars. What's going on here? Why won't it just open it normally like the rest of them? Let's have a little look. There we go. And if I can find Ed's email here, he said definitely had to decide that I'd done. I definitely had to decide that I'd done enough rather than going over the top and wrecking it. Definitely fits March to War though. It definitely does, mate. I like it. Nice bit of work on there as well. I think that's the trick with these kind of things. You can kind of go over the top, and you can start to like weather them and stuff, like overly weather them, and before you know it, it looks nothing like the original one. But I love this, mate. Nice and clean, nice and crisp, fresh out the factory, ready to fight. I love it. So that is Ed's. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We've got 8 more to go, but we'll come back to those. I think we'll have a little break. We'll chat. We'll have a look in the chat and see what folks are up to. Scroll up a little bit. Yeah, bit of chat there. People are talking about Hazard stripes are the bane of my life. I bet they are in mine as well. Matt's saying, nice, not the smart gun in Aliens with a heavy weapon guy. Yeah, I think that must be Dan's Enforcers, wasn't it? I think, yeah. Yeah, the RGC saying great acrylic standees. Yeah, Matt's saying they're wonderfully dinky. I like wonderfully dinky. I like that phrase, mate. Matthew saying, I agree. Thank you for being so inclusive. Not a problem at all, mate. Do you know what? There's no reason, like, there's no kind of hard and fast rules when it comes to, like, this is a hobby. Like, if you're somebody that's a scratch builder, you're 3D printing stuff, you're like doing like paper doll type stuff, if you're playing with tokens and you just like to make them yourself, like, we all just love different bits of the hobby. Who am I to kind of say you're doing it right or doing it wrong? Like, you know, I might be doing it wrong for all that matters. The way I kind of see it is, if you're having fun, then you're kind of doing the hobby the right way. So that's all that really matters. If you're having fun, show me the pictures. That's all I really want. Matt says that's me first thing in the morning. I think I know which one we're talking about, mate. Super Punky Man said it looks like a less hairy Alf. It did a bit, didn't it, mate? Yeah, Matt saying, personally I prefer factory fresh or lightly weathered to those where every corner is pinged, dinged and scratched. I think it is one of those things where you can, like, once you start going down that heavily weathered stuff when it comes to vehicles, like, I think you can go over the top and it almost like looks like, hang on, this one's knackered now, it's ready for the scrapyard. They would have taken it out of commission and brought a new one in. Luke saying, I'm painting another Marvel United mini, one of my favourite X-Men actually. He's my favourite Colossus, nearly finished. Nice one, mate. Mutton Chops is saying, the giant for my Era 1 army is 28mm. Oh, it's Dom there, sorry. I'm just in the process of basing all 200 plus models for my pig face army. My God, mate. So I have done some painting this month. Let me just move this stuff out of the way. Although I've now moved the camera, so let me try and the camera back down here. Talk amongst yourselves, he says. So let me just move them. I'll show you what I've been painting this month. I'm not completely finished, which is why I've not taken any pictures of it. But I've been painting up my Fenrir warband for God tier, and there we go. So this is the Fenrir model that I've not finished yet, which is why I'm not showing it off. I'm not happy with that red yet. I think I'm going to need to change that red, but it's not finished yet. So I tried it as like a kind of like a blue glowy color, but I wasn't happy with it. So then I tried it with red, because I've got a little bit of red on the little curs, the chained curs, which are like the little followers. But yeah, well, it's not right yet. But it just kind of goes to show that not everything works first time. It's a long way from finished, but it kind of shows off the model a little bit anyway. But yeah, Zingbo was saying the yellow accents work really well with the black fur. Yellow and black was kind of what I was going for with this. So that's not finished yet, but I have finished all of the followers and the little... So for those that do know... let's have a little bit of that. move my arms around. For those that do know God tier, these are your little kind of... your little banners that you plant. As you can see, I've kind of gone with like a snow base and stuff. Let me just turn the brightness down a little bit. Seems a bit overly bright. There we go. These are the little banners that you place on there. You can see it's like a little rock and stuff. There's a sword up against the side of it and stuff. So there's one of the banners. And then these are the chainless curs, who are like the followers. We've got this little guy here. Get that to focus on the model rather than the tabletop. And that's why I've kind of went with the red, because I've got a little bit of red on these, just like with the axe handles and the eyes, to kind of set it off a little bit. Yeah, Mark's saying do some yellow fading into orange for the runes, like it's a flame. I might try and do that, mate. Yeah, I think the red's just too bright at the minute, but like I say, it's not finished yet. So this is one of the little dudes. And then we've got this little guy. Just stop it focusing on the table. There we go. I think what it is that the reds are not quite as bright on these ones, so maybe that's why it needs toning down a little bit. And obviously the yellows are brighter as well because these are finished. But yeah, a little bit of kind of snow and stuff on the base. And then we've got this little fella ready for war as well. Oh, likes to focus on that tabletop. I think it's because it's closer now. That's what it is. But then he's got his little cloth over his head there as well. And then the last one here is this little dude here as well. So those are the 4 little followers that come with her. So I kind of started with them to kind of get the color scheme I wanted, but that kind of yellow with kind of grey, black, with a bit of silver armor and stuff is kind of what I was going for. But yeah, this one, like I say, nowhere near finished yet, but needs a bit more work. But I like the yellow and the black, and the reason it's yellow as well is because each of the different champions have like a different color. So this is a Maelstrom champion. Maelstroms are yellow. It just helps me remember when they're on the tabletop which champion they are. So yeah, I think that red, if it kind of gets lightened up a little bit, it might work. But yeah, it's still got a bit of work. But because it's not finished, it didn't get entered into the. That's why I didn't take any photographs. Yeah, Tiberius has seen yellow instead of red would work. I had thought about yellow, mate, to be honest, but then I wasn't sure if it was going to be too much yellow. I think it might end up being yellow, if I'm perfectly honest. I'll just kind of fill them back in with white and then bring it up with yellow, I think, potentially. Pop a cheeky grin on that one. Yeah, some of them do have a bit of grin on them. Thank you, Jez. Matt's saying he's totally a Dave or a Greg. James says, love snow bases. I have to resist just putting all of my models in the snow. I do know what you mean, mate. I use the Valhalla snow stuff for doing these snow bases, and I must admit I do always like the texture and how they kind of turn out. I do find that I could end up putting snow on every base if I wasn't too careful. Yeah, Covering Pistachio was just saying there, what did you use on the bases? So yeah, just this stuff basically, just the GW. That's really bright there. The Valhalla Blizzard, the Citadel stuff, which just basically, if anybody hasn't seen it before, it's just not easy to see on white light, but it's like a bit of a snow paste type stuff. But I do find it always gives like a really nice finish. It kind of goes hard, but it looks like you could kind of stand in it and really crunch it down. It looks good. Tiberius is saying a tidy thing to do with spot colours to do the rims of the bases in colours. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of doing the bases, the rims of the base. I always just tend to keep the rims black. I think, or at least like grey or brown or something like that. I tend not to like the bases to stand out too much. Matt says, I've got a mountain of Fallout shiny that needs gluing together and painting up. I was going so cheap. Yeah, that's always the worst way. Jess says that's what Citadel white paint looks like too. Yes, I wouldn't disagree, mate. Citadel white paint isn't necessarily the best white paint, is it, shall we say? But yeah, so I kind of got low. I've got all my what they call my Conquest minis are up there as well. In fact, I'll just show you some of those off as well. Let me. Oh, it says try not not to drop them all on the. Oh, what was that? That was just my camera my light getting knocked over because I've moved my chair there. Let's put that back. So these are some of my Conquest minis. Let's just zoom out a little bit. So these bad boys have just been built and primed. It gives you an idea of kind of how they look. And if I take one of them off the base there, just so you can kind of see it, gives you an idea of the kind of quality of them as well. And just in comparison to those, the God tier minis there as well, just to give you an idea of the kind of the size difference in them. These are quite chunky boys, as they say. Yeah, just gives you an idea. They're nice, really nice quality. These are plastics. I'm not going to try and get down all the units and stuff because I'll probably knock them flying if I try and reach up there. But again, I've actually gone with like a yellow and black theme for these as well. So these will get painted and we'll get them to the table soon. It gives you a little bit of an idea about what these bad boys look like. These have been primed as well with the Colour Forge matte black primer. Just shows you how matte it actually is. Like I do really like that matte black. Looks awesome. Yes, nice stuff. Let me just put them down. Yeah, Matt says your lamp decided to go on strike. That's what happens, mate. I'm a bit too close to the wall. That's what it was. Just as saying, they're so cool. I need some Mega Minotaurs. Yeah, they are pretty nice. You can build them in a couple of different ways. One way has like big shields. I've got some more models to build as well. So I bought a starter box, and then I managed to buy the City States half of a starter box as well. I got a good deal on them. So they arrived today as well. So I've got like twice as much stuff to build and stuff as well. Mark says, have you found a good matte top coat that isn't expensive? Yeah, I use the Colour Forge matte spray as well. The matte varnish works really well as well. You just got to make sure that you've kind of just warmed the can up, but I found it's really, really good. Right, let's go back, because time is cracking on tonight. We've had a good old natter and time's cracking on, so we'll go and we'll show off. Here we go, some more miniatures. Now these ones are from Mr. Joachim. Where are we up to? There he is, Joachim Gustafsson. And he said, in Fallout, the Institute is more famous for working in the shadows. Yet I can totally see the mass-produced synths like these and make them march to war. Nice work, mate. I love the basing on them as well. Really, I'm not familiar with these models at all, but they do look really cool. Love the kind of like the blue suit. Really, really nice, mate. Nice work as well. I love the kind of like the yellow and glow around the eyes as well. Really makes them a bit sinister looking. I do like them, man. I also recognise that terrain in the background. I think from Mars Attacks. I remember that little shopping trolley background. It's either Mars Attacks or it's Walking Dead. It could be Walking Dead. Yeah, nice mate. They look suitably sinister. You wouldn't want to meet them in a dark alley, that's for sure. Nice work on the bases as well. Yeah, cool, mate. Nice with the building in the background as well. It really does set it off. Really kind of sort of grounds it in a bit of real world as well. But nice, mate. I do like them. Awesome work, son. Well, I don't know what any of these things are. I'm not really somebody that plays the Fallout games. But yeah, I will take your word for it. Nice work, mate. Love them. Thank you very much for submitting your stuff. As always a pleasure to see them. Thank you very much. Next up, Mr. Jonathan Dawson. And Jonathan said he's thought I'd have a go at painting some more Romans for Hail Caesar or SPQR. My aim was to tabletop ready, and I can add highlights later. Look okay close up, but more importantly, great in a wider force. Thanks for pulling together a great positive community of painters and gamers. You are very welcome, mate. But yeah, these look really nice, mate. I love these, especially with the shields and stuff as well. The shields really do set them off. And like you're saying about like kind of tabletop ready, I think you're doing yourself a bit of hard justice there, really, to be fair. Because like when you see them ranked up like that as a troop, they do look impressive, like. So yeah, do not be hard on yourself, mate. They look great. And painted models always look better than grey plastic or silver metal. So yeah, nicely done, mate. I like those. I don't know much about Hail Caesar or SPQR, but yeah, models look cool, mate. Nice work. Thank you for entering again, Mr. Marcus Schneider. So Marcus, if we can find his email, there we go. Said the trees march to war. So here my spring-themed Sylvaneth Kurnoth hunters for my Warcry warband. I love them, mate. Really, really nice. Love the bases as well. Lots of foliage and grass and stuff. Really nice. Love the kind of the fade on the sword. Looks cool. Nice on the bows as well, mate. And I like that kind of like red glow to the center as well. Really does set them off. The gold to the ends. Nice work, mate. Love the bases. Trying to work out what they are on the bases. I'm not familiar with these models, so I don't know if these kind of come with bases like that. But yeah, look really cool, mate. Yeah, set them off very, very nicely. I do like the Sylvaneth, man, I must admit. They're nice models. The old tree men. Nice, mate. Thank you very much for taking part. Awesome. Next up, we've got Mr. Page Neo. And Page has been, he says, looking for the, there it is. Marching to war with the first completed model of his new Goblin army for Kings of War. Rony Snark says that the name is a pun on Tony Snark. He's supposed to have personal wingsuit, but I thought a jetpack was more fun. Complete with an LED light, and the connection point to the battery is completed by pressing the blue tacked bases lightly, eliminating the need for a switch. And I need access to change batteries in the future anyway. Thanks, mate. I like it. Tony Snark. I like that. Yeah, nicely done, mate. I do like that. So yeah, also the base is where the switch is. They're kind of glowing about it. It actually does look like it's on fire, to be fair. So yeah, nice work, mate. Very inventive. I'm not that inventive when it comes to that kind of stuff. So yeah, awesome work, buddy. Next up, Mr. Rob Green. And Rob has been, if I can find Rob's email here. There we go. He says, you succeeded in your quest to get me to paint. Really enjoyed playing Dominion and Final Girl this month, but Andy's little challenge kept nagging away at me. So he's got Mantic's Ogre Matriarch done. Really pleased with the outcome, especially the armor and the face. Keep up the good work and loved the unboxing video for Conquest. Thank you very much, mate. I do like this Ogre Matriarch from Mantic. Very nicely done. You're right as well. Good work on the face, mate. Basin looks awesome as well. Nice work on the armor. I do like that, mate. Very nicely done. You should be rightly proud of it as well. Good stuff, buddy. Is it part of a bigger army, or are you just painting one particular model? Or let me know. Thank you very much for taking part. Mr. Robert Zunk is up next. If I can find Rob's email. There he is. He got in nice and early this month. And Rob said he's got these British Airborne in his drawer for a while. Got the squad painted. And trying something new, painting the camouflage with very thinned down paint. I like how it turned out. The colours might not be exactly historical, but I like how they look. If you like how they look, mate, then they're perfect. But yeah, very nice, mate. Awesome work as well. Nice with the little bit of setting as well, with the bocage and the cracked earth there as well. Looking really nice, mate. Ready to take to the table, mate. That's what you want to see, isn't it? Get them out there ready to fight. Nice with the red berets as well. And the camouflage has come up a treat. Nice one, Rob. Thank you very much for taking part this month, buddy. Awesome work as always. Next up, we've got Mr. Stephen Hallowich. And Stephen, I can find his email. There we go. He says, here's my March challenge, the Grease Lightning Rumble Slam team. Mecha Bjorn wanted to wrestle but couldn't find a team, so she built one. He gave the ring itself marching orders. There we go, mate. Nice. Like I say, I'm not familiar with these models, but these are obviously Rumble Slam, as you say. Yeah, look really nice. Look at the arms on that thing. Nice work, mate. What the heck is that? Is that meant to be like a turnbuckle or something? I've got no idea what that is. Wow. I like it. Like something from like boxing robots or fighting robots. I have no idea what these things are meant to be, but I do think they're kind of cool. Nice, mate. Yeah, I'm thinking they're meant to be part of the wrestling ring, I think. Nice, mate. Nice work indeed. Plenty of character in them, mate. Thank you very much. Thanks for submitting that. And then Mr. Tony Howell, last but not least. And Tony, if I can find his email, which is down here, said, I figured this guy looks like he might be good for leading his team into battle. Probably a few pew pew noises. I've added a front and back photo to prove that I don't leave my minis with their bare asses hanging out. Nice one, Tony. I tell you what, mate, some lovely work on this. Love that skin tone as well to the face. Nice work on the sword. Love that kind of like fiery sort of almost like burning metal to the end of it, mate. Looks nice. I do love the shading and the little bit of weather in there as well. Looks awesome, mate. I quite like these models, to be fair. Not sure I'd paint a full army of them, but I'd paint a few of them, mate. I do quite like them. Yeah, and that work on the kind of like almost like leather sort of cloak to it as well. Looks brilliant, mate. And again, seeing the sword there as well, the flames. Beautiful work as always, Tony. Love it, mate. Really, really like that. Bit of weather in there as well, all kind of chipped and bashed and stuff. Looks like he's having a bit of a he's having a tough war, this lad. So yeah, thank you very much, mate. And thank you to every single one of you who took part this month. You'd be wanting to know what April's challenge is now. I'll be honest, I haven't really thought about it. So why don't we put it to the chat tonight? Why don't we put it to the chat and see what suggestions you've got for April's challenge, and we'll see if anybody comes up with a good suggestion. RG saying someone at TT Combat has a wicked imagination. You're not wrong, mate. Yeah. Yes, Super Punky Man saying that sword for Tony's is awesome there as well. Yeah, the sword you could use to light cigars. You definitely could, mate. Yeah, Take 40 says to clear up, it was a walking turnbuckle, a punching bag, a stage light, and an oil can. I thought I could tell it was definitely parts of the ring, but I wasn't sure what they were. How many golden demons are you hiding from us, Tony? Yoakum says, awesome work with the painting challenge, everyone. Very inspiring as usual. Yes, I would agree, mate. Lots of things there to get the painting juices flowing. And Mordecai saying, excellent work, everyone. Matt says, spring clean. Oh, I do quite like that one, mate. I do quite like that one. Jez is saying, fools. Yes, something to do with April Fools, maybe. Ed saying, did you get my ATST, mate? I did, mate. Yes, it was on earlier on, buddy. But yes, you'll see it if you watch it back, mate. I definitely did show it off. Jez is saying, yeah, spring as well. Sarah saying, tomfoolery, something silly or kid bashed. Matt said, oh, April Fools is a good one. April Fools, most ridiculous mini you can find. Yeah, Fools sound good to me. Spring clean. I tell you what, then let's go with April Fools, right? But think about it on many different levels. So you can have something really silly. If you've got like a bit of a silly miniature that like you're not really sure where it fits in an army, or like you've just got that one miniature that you've always fancied painting, we can go down the kind of silly April Fools. We could go down the route of like Fool's Gold. Maybe there's kind of like, maybe there's something particularly metallic or gold about this one. You might be painting the I forget what they're called now. The gold Space Marine ones, I forget what they're called. You might be painting those guys up. Maybe you're painting sort of some treasure for a dungeon crawler, and there's lots of gold involved. Maybe your characters are hunting for fool's gold. Maybe they're on a fool's errand. Maybe you're painting them for D&D, and you've got a bit of a kind of campaign coming up, but it will be a fool's errand to kind of go down that route with the campaign. So yes, Jess says Fool of a Took. That's a Lord of the Rings thing, yeah. Well over my head. Custodes, thank you very, very much, everybody. Yes. So we will go with April Fools, but it obviously opens it up to lots of different things. Don't limit yourself. If there's just something you want to paint and submit it, I'm sure we can find a way to kind of to fit it in. So don't worry about it. All I want to do is inspire you to pick up the brush during April. That's the way to do it. So let's have a look at the diary and we'll see how it fits. Yeah, Mark Burton saying Hellboy's Fool's Golden Army. That'll do for me, mate. I like it. And Jess is saying the Fool King was a sacrifice in some pagan societies. There you go. It might be the court jester. You might be painting some kind of king or some kind of sort of like leader for your army. Maybe he's got a fool, like a court jester who's looking after him. So challenge starts today, 3rd of April, and will run all the way through, perfectly timed, until the 30th of April, Sunday the 30th of April, and we'll show them off on May the 1st on the Monday night stream there. Let me have a look. Yes, we are still doing it. It's a bank holiday, but we'll be here going strong. Yeah, I pity the fool. If anybody paints any 18 minis, bonus points for that one. There'll be no live stream next Monday, folks. As I said before, I'm away with the family for a few days next week. We're off to Centre Parks over in the lakes for a few days, just to kind of enjoy ourselves and wind down a bit while the little one's on his Easter holidays. I'm looking after him this week. He's off school as well. And then next week we're having a few days away. So there'll be no live stream next Monday, but we'll be back as normal on... let me just check the dates there. We'll be back as normal on the 17th, on Monday the 17th. So yeah, I'll make sure that I've got the video I did with Ronnie where we're talking about the future of Mantic, stuff that's coming for the future. I'll get that one all edited up and I'll make sure that's available for next Monday, so you've got something to watch while I'm not around. But yeah, I'm sure there's some old videos that you've not watched of mine. If anybody hasn't seen my Conquest unboxing video, I'd love you to go back and watch that one as well. And yeah, I am on kind of daddy duty this week, looking after my little boy. So I'm going to try and squeeze in a video this week if I can. And I'm going away on Thursday for overnight. I'm taking one of my oldest lads down to Nottingham, and we're going to make a bit of a trip down to Warhammer World. He's never been before. He's off university at the minute. He's quite interested in kind of getting into miniatures and painting and stuff like that. So I think we're going to try and see if we can call into Mantic during the afternoon, and then go to Warhammer World on the evening and have a little look around I've not been down to the museum part, whatever it's called, like the exhibition bit, for a long time. And so we're going to have an overnight bit of food in Bugman's Bar and make the most of a bit of a day away. So I might try and get some. I wonder if I don't think I'll really get any footage from Warhammer World. I don't think there's anything that will be interesting for you to see, but we'll see what happens. James says Centre Parks in the school holidays. Channel must be doing well, mate. Let's just say the grandparents are coming with us, mate. Matt says Mr. T. Oh, please tell me there's a Mr. T mini. I'm sure there must be somewhere. And yeah, Tony's saying the theme works for me. I'm a bit of a fool, so anything works. I like that, mate. Super Pokemon says, so Killer Clowns from Outer Space for this month. That works as well, mate. Yeah. Shazza saying, yep, sounds cool. The unboxing was great. Thank you very much. And Ed saying, yeah, Conquest unboxing was mint. Cheers, mate. Thanks to you. Matt says, try not to walk out with a Forge World Titan. Yeah, and something tells me I'm not be walking out with the Forge World Titan, mate. I'm not really sure I'd be walking out with anything. I'm not really going down there to go shopping. I mean, I'd be far better off supporting a local friendly gaming store if I was going to buy some GW stuff and get 20% discount. I think it's more about, it'd be nice to go down and wander, have a look around the exhibition. Like I say, I've not been for a good number of years, well before lockdowns and stuff like that. My oldest lad's never been before. So yeah, we're going to make a bit of a trip of it, mate. Bit of a day out. We're going to stay overnight, have some food, couple of beers, spend some time with my son. So yeah, being like more of a bit of a just a trip away with him. I've been promising him since Christmas we'll have a night away somewhere, just something to do. He's not much of a boozer, so like it's not like we're going to kind of have a heavy night out or anything like that. So yeah, I just thought we'd go down there, have a bit of a trip to Nottingham for a change. So if anybody's about, please say hello. It's not like a meet-up thing or anything like that. But if you happen to be in Warhammer World on Thursday, I'll be around somewhere. George is saying, evening all from his holidays in North Wales. Nice to see you, George. Hope the weather's good for you, mate. Hope you're having a good time. Mutton Chops is saying, Crooked Dice Miniatures doing A-Team. There you go, mate. Ed saying, last time I was in Lenton was before the millennium. Yeah, I mean, I've obviously been down to Mantic a few times. But yeah, I think the last time I was at Warhammer World was when I went for the Warcry tournament, which was, oh my god, that was well before lockdown. But I was literally there, and back in the day, I think I didn't actually get a chance to look around the place. So I can't remember the last time I went and had a look around the museum part, or the what's it called, like the exhibition thing. Colin saying, you're not allowed to film in Warhammer World unless you get written permission. Yeah, I'm not planning to film inside the place, mate, to be fair. Like I say, I'm having a bit of time with my son, so it's not like we're gonna spend like any time getting footage or anything like that. Coffee and Pistachio saying, let me know if you want any pub suggestions for Knots. I don't think we're going into Nottingham, mate, to be fair. We're gonna I've booked like a hotel nearby, near to Warhammer World, so it means I can just park the car and just kind of wander down. And means we have a couple of beers in Bugman's, really. So yeah, I don't think we're going to go into Nottingham itself. But thank you for the potential suggestions. James is saying, bed for him, good night. See you later, mate. Invisible is saying, evening all. Hope you're having a good night. Nice to see you, Invisible. Or maybe not seeing you, maybe, as the case may be. Yeah. And Ed saying, does that really go beyond the trip, the Saddle and the Bell? Yeah, I think I'd like to make a bit of a trip into Nottingham. I've not been to Nottingham City Centre. Oh my goodness, I can't even think how long ago it was. If ever, have I ever been to Nottingham City Centre? I don't think I have, you know. I'm not really sure I have. Whenever I've been down to Nottingham, it's been like to go and see Mantic or something like that. Whether it be for like an event or like just to pop in like for a meeting or do some filming or something like that. So I don't think I've ever like been into Nottingham and went round all the fancy pubs and stuff like that. So yeah, maybe one day I'll have to make the pilgrimage. But yeah, I might try and drop Mantic an email tomorrow, see if it's possible to kind of pop in the afternoon. And my son would probably like to have a look around. He's never been to Mantic either, so yeah, it'd be nice. Tony said he's never been to Warhammer World. I do wish that I'd be able to do it one day. I think you will, mate. There's no reason why you won't. I think one day you will just decide, you know what, I'm just going to bloody well do it. Especially if you do it during the week when it's quieter as well. Like, you know, all the kids are at school generally. They don't go this week, for example. Kids are at school, generally a bit quieter. That would be a good time to make a bit of a trip, mate. Nobody would bother you or anything like that. So, yeah. You'll manage it one day, mate. But, yeah, isn't it Warhammer Fest's coming up soon as well, I think, isn't it? That's not too far away. So maybe some of the stuff... I haven't even checked, to be fair. I'm assuming it's open on Thursday. If not, it's a bit of a wasted trip. Edson, you have to go to the trip at least. I don't even know where that is, mate. Is that in the city centre? Because it's a little bit kind of out the way, isn't it? Frantic saying end of the month is Warhammer Fest. I knew it was coming up. I didn't know when it was. Colin saying mates are heading down to Warhammer World in May for gaming. I'm going with, but as they play, I'm off to Mantic HQ. Ah, nice, mate. Nice to make a little trip. Not massively miles apart, are they? Matt saying Warhammer Fest is indeed coming up. Apparently they're demoing 10th edition. I would imagine they probably will be, mate. I mean, I think it's probably fair play to be doing that. And it would make sense, especially with it being so close. My assumption is it's going to release around June time. Generally, that's when the last editions, when they've had a new edition come out, it's normally released around the June time. So, VG said I stayed in the centre when I was there. Good little spot. Loved the trip. Still have my mug. Yeah, like I say, we're gonna kind of set off in the morning. It's about a 3-hour drive down to Nottingham for me. We'll kind of stop off for a bit of lunch on the way or something. Maybe pop into Mantic in the afternoon, have a little kind of wander around there. See if my little lad, because I think he's nearly 21. See if my lad can have a bit of a tour around the resin casting and stuff like that, and then head across to Warhammer World, have a tour around the place, around the exhibition. And then sit and have a bite to eat and a couple of beers in Bugman's, and no doubt my son will probably want to treat himself to something. Invisible says last time I went to Warhammer World was for an open day in the late 90s. Was cool then, and I bet the dioramas have only gotten better since. A return trip might be in order. I've heard nothing but good things about the place. I think it's one of those things where you can't fail to be impressed by it, and it's certainly like. It's inspiring when you kind of see the scale and the quality of the stuff that's in there. So whether like me, like you appreciate the miniatures but don't play the game, I think you can't fail to be kind of impressed. It's like, you know, like it's just cool to see that kind of stuff. Yeah, VG saying trip is at the base of the castle, only a 5-minute walk from the town centre. Yeah, like I say, I mean, I don't think we'll be going into the town centre. The plan's not to really kind of to be travelling around really. So yeah, it's more just spending a bit of time with him. So to be honest, the location's less important. It's just nice to spend some time with my son. He's at university, kind of like doing his own thing, and obviously we try and meet up and things like that. But he's got his own pals and that, so. It's nice just to have a bit of father and son bonding, I think, this time. So yeah, so I've been frantically building minis and getting ready to paint my conquest stuff. If I can reach, can I pull these down without wrecking them all? Hang on a second. So these, he manages it. So let's fit across. So these are my let's move them out of the way. These are my city states. These are my, I think these are these are not phalangites, these are the hoplites, I think. Kind of, oops, that's it. Falling off there. Brilliant. There's one of you. His shield needs gluing back on. Easy done. But yeah, so these basically come on their these come on these little kind of stands. Again, I've been 3D printing off these basically just to hold the different stands together, which were quite cool. And then these are, gives you a little bit of an idea. Again, these have been primed with that matte black, so they are very, very matte, so it doesn't show great on camera. But yeah, but they're nice models, nice stuff. And then there's another unit and a leader model right over there, but I can't reach them from where we are. So yeah, that's as much as you get to see. In fact, let me just I'll tell you what we'll do. We'll try and get a little bit of a close up of a and see it a little bit better. You just kind of see the models there a little bit. But yeah, they're nice quality, go together lovely, no problems with those. Yeah, looking pretty cool. Matt says all the shiny on display. I wonder if they have to hire someone to wipe the hand and forehead prints off the protective windows. I wouldn't be surprised if there's a lot of like bashing of heads as they lean forward. Clyde saying, wow, you were busy. Yeah, plowing through, mate. You know I'm not a big fan of building models as well. So yeah, plowed through, got them all built, got them all primed, and I've got one model over there which is the beginnings of like a test scheme on them, but it's out of range. I'll have to walk all the way around the table, and I'm not going over there. You'll see them when they're painted. Coffee and Pistachio says, seems like you got your hobby mojo back in full force, mate. Do you know what it is, mate? It's more to do with there's stuff I'm excited about again. I went through a bit of a phase where like there was nothing really coming out that I was particularly kind of excited about. Nothing was really scratching my itch. Nothing was like making me want to paint it or anything like that. I was just a bit, not down so much, but like I knew there was stuff coming, but it just wasn't coming yet. So obviously Conquest stuff, I knew the city-state starter was coming, and I've been kind of waiting for it to arrive so I can make a start on this. So this is kind of my stuff. I've been painting up my God tier stuff, which has been new stuff that got sent out. I've pre-ordered the Star Wars Shatterpoint game, so I'm really looking forward to that. That comes out in June as well, right at the same weekend as UK Games Expo will be the Shatterpoint release weekend. I'd imagine 10th edition releases around then as well. So yeah, so there's lots of things that's kind of giving me stuff to talk about that I'm kind of like I'm interested in, I'm excited for. It's just kind of timing, mate. I think we just go through phases. Like in the same way, I'm sure there's games that you've absolutely kind of been head over heels about, and then you go through a lull where it's like there's nothing new coming out. The stuff I'm excited for is too far away, like all that kind of stuff. I guess that's why the Games Workshop fans kind of are constantly excited because there's constantly stuff coming out. But if you don't play Games Workshop games, generally releases are a bit slower for everything else. So you kind of sometimes go through these kind of gaps where it's like the stuff I want, but it's miles away. It's 6 months away yet, kind of thing. Jesse, and good to see you're out of your fug. I think it's one of them things, mate, where like I said before, I've kind of just like I'm doing the stuff that I'm enjoying now. Like I could try and chase views, and I could chase kind of sort of popular stuff, but it wouldn't scratch the itch, mate. Hexan saying Conquest models look good. I'm definitely going to give this a try. They're not the cheapest, I'll be perfectly honest. Some of the models are quite expensive, especially some of the bigger ones. But it's not something where I feel like I'm going to need to buy everything that comes out. I'm not going to be collecting multiple armies. I'm not going to be kind of going overboard with it. I'm going to collect my army. I'm going to paint it. Like I've got the starter box plus another half of a starter box, which arrived today to basically build and paint as well. And I ain't buying anything else until they're all built and painted. If I can't build and paint everything I've got, there's no point in buying more stuff that I won't build and paint, kind of thing. So I'm just taking it easy with Conquest. It's a bit of hobby stuff, a bit of fun. I played it at a local club. There's a bit of a slow growth thing going on at the minute, so I can kind of sort of build it up gradually over a period of time. But yeah, I'm just looking forward to it, and looking forward to getting some paint on the Star Wars Shatterpoint stuff when they come. And like I said, this stuff with maybe making a God tier board, just something for a bit of fun, really. I can just put the printer on in the background. It'll just keep churning out these little hexes. Like I can get like 9 of these at a time on a bed. So I've got 2 printers. That's 18 hexes at a time. I think off the top of my head, there are about 144 hexes on a God tier board. So it'll take a little while to print them off, but like there's no rush. Just tick away in the background, get there when I get there, kind of thing. Yeah, coffee and pistachio, see I get here. Yeah, Matt says, right, need to skedaddle. Thanks for the fun. You are very welcome, mate. Thank you very much for tuning in. So yeah, just a bit of a reminder, folks, no stream next week. I will still be around. I'll still be kind of sort of online, Facebook and what's it called, Discord and all that kind of stuff for the Patreons. So I am still around and stuff, but I'm just like, I won't be able to make videos, put it that way, because I'm going to be spending some time with the little lad and my wife and my in-laws as well. So yeah, looking forward to a nice little bit of break. It's nice for my wife to get a bit of time off work as well. She works bloody hard, and it's nice for my little lad to have a bit of a break and run about in the forest as well, which is never a bad thing. So yeah, has anybody else got any Easter plans? Anybody up to anything? You doing anything special? You got any hobby projects on the go? We'll have a last minute kind of wrap up before we kind of end the stream tonight. RG says, enjoy the family time, you deserve it. It's just, you know what it is, mate? It's like, I'm dead fortunate, like what I get to do, that I get to like see my little boy every day. I never used to when I was working before. Like you don't get the family time kind of thing. So I'm massively fortunate that I get to see my little boy every day. I pick him up from school. And so we get to spend some time together. Like me and my little lad have been playing Dungeon Saga Origins over the weekend, and he's like so excited about it. He absolutely loves the game. But obviously my wife works full time and works really, really hard. She's got quite a stressful job, and it's nice for her to have a bit of a break, really, and like get away and switch off and have a bit of, you know, a bit of fresh air, get away from the computer for a bit and stuff. So yeah, it's more for her really that I really kind of, that it's nice that we get a chance to have a bit of a break. Tony saying, thanks Andy and all, been a pleasure. Thank you very much, mate. Jez is finishing his board and Trolls and Bridge, and then trying out new game rules. So give me the kind of like the 10-word pitch, mate. What's the game about? What's the idea? RG says, intend to play a bit of Armada and Dead Zone over Easter. Very nice, mate. Scott saying, hopes to get out on the bike if the weather's good, get some more mini painting done. Yeah, fingers crossed for a bit of nice weather, mate. Never goes amiss, does it? It's amazing how different you feel with a bit of sunshine on your back. Coffee and Pistachio says, have a cracking time with the family. Thank you very much, mate. Just catch you all in a couple of weeks, and take care and bye. Yeah, I think that, folks, is as good a place as any to wrap this up. So thank you everybody that took part in this month's challenge. Don't forget, next month's challenge, we've got April Fools. And if you haven't watched my latest videos, the Mantic ones about Dungeon Saga Origins, if you haven't watched my City States, my Conquest unboxing, please do give it a thumbs up, leave a comment. All those kind of things really do help me out. Like, if obviously I do appreciate the Patreons and everybody that financially supports what I do as well. But if that's beyond your reach at the minute, or it's not something that you want to get involved with, just watching a video, giving it a thumbs up, leaving a comment, you'd be surprised how much that helps out. So thank you very much, everybody, and I will see you all in not next week's live stream, but the week after. So take care, folks. Happy Easter and enjoy the break.